Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Canyon. Welcome back to another installment of the weekly update. It is the final weekly update for this, the year of our Lord 2023. We'll move into 2024 and we'll see how it goes, man. So let me first start by giving you some State of the Canyon content, as I had previously threatened to do my best, worst. I've thought about it a little. Not enough to write stuff down, but I have thought about it a little, and I will get into how that has been mentally structured. So, the Canyon has no less than 4 It Came From the Workbench series running all at once right now. There's the Bronco, there's the VRD Bug, there's Lolo, and there's another one. I've got Woody to work on. I might get some work on Woody because a couple of these are in what I call stall mode because the Bug needs to be painted. We are in what California, as close as possible, approximates to winter. In the next 10 days, we don't have a day where the daytime high is above 60 degrees. So spray paint. I'm impatient when I spray paint. I like to spray paint when it's like July or August, where the paint basically is drying in the air because it's 110 degrees outside, which is above the temperature that you're supposed to spray paint, but too hot is better than too cold. Painting patinas on a day like today, it is 50 degrees inside the workshop, about 45 degrees outside. The paint would dry eventually, so those guys are resting for the moment. So I want to get another one underway. I think 30 will be the Evil Twin. I think I have everything I need. That won't be initiated most likely into the new year, seeing as we've got 2 days. 3, if we count today, left in 2023. So most anything I talk about will be taking place in the new year. We've got irons in fires, even if they're very small. We're working on it. And I did no coursework other than a delightful 4 or 5 hours. Yesterday, I didn't touch a rig until like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It was delightful. I didn't touch a camera until about the same time. I filmed that short, and that was the extent of it. It was delightful. It was like Thursday was a day off from everything. I raked for hours and hours and hours. I trimmed trees. I stank like pepper trees. It was like a mini vacation. And not that what I'm doing right now is insanely difficult, but if you have a 4 p.m. upload time, you have a schedule, right? So sometimes the schedule feels like it's squishing down on you, especially when I come out here in the morning and it's not weekly update time and I'm thinking, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? And then I film something in 30 minutes and it's like the most viewed thing of the week. So I still will never understand how YouTube works or how the algorithm works. I just keep riding with the tide. And before we get into the recap of 2023, I would like to say, to all of you watching, to all of you viewers, I am going to farm you now. I am farming you for content, which is, if you have anything that you want to know, that you want to see, large or small, if you want some sort of a comparison or something, or for me to break down a concept of something, let me know. I would like to flood the algorithm during January so that I can have a soft February. And if I'm doing multiple uploads a day, because if somebody has a simple question about like, how do I do this, or how does this work, or what is the effect of this, like you've got, say you have the same gear ratio, say you have a 5-to-1 ratio, but if you're running bigger gears versus smaller gears, stuff like that, is getting gear reduction from the portals the same as getting gear reduction from the gearbox? If anybody has curiosities like this, let me know in the comments. Hit me up on Instagram. Just contact me in some way, and I will do my very best to address those things, because a lot of times people will post a question in the comments, and I will write like a paragraph, and I'm like, I wish I could just make a video for it and then knock it out in 5 minutes, because I'm a visual learner. So it would be easier for me to say, do this, than to... And then I type it, I post a comment, and realize I forgot to say this, which I do all the time. I'm going to forget many things here during the... What I have started off as saying the high-low, partially inspired by the low build of the past week. The highs and lows of 2023, because I can't say best worst. There's only a couple of things that I could honestly say best worst. Like, it still retains the crown. The Boom Racing Hustler is the worst rock crawling tire of all time. If you look them up now, they are much cheaper. I think they're like $22 a pair, something like that, which is still grotesquely overpriced. When I bought mine, they were $35 a pair in this size. So I paid $70 for this set of tires. They were virtually impossible to mount. They have absolutely no grip. They perform worse than a typical Amazon tire, but they were very expensive. So them being unseated, that's why they stay mounted on these wheels up here at the very top of the rack. That is why they stay atop the list of the worst rock crawling tire you can buy, because you can get a rock crawling tire that is worse. We saw, hands down, the worst rock crawling tire of the year. I wish I could show it to you right now, but it's out on the skewers. They're permanent and forever home. 3 of them here on the final skewer. The Chanmu. They are so unthinkably bad that, like, they felt like maybe we were going to get something. When a tire fails a junk view, it ends up out here on the skewers. And some tires didn't fail a lot. They're just not the best option. Like, we can do better. The Chanmu stands head and shoulders above them in that they are objectively terrible. I cut half the lugs out, and it made no difference at all. We did some weekly dumbs where we drove on just foams glued to tires, and foams glued to tires did better than most of what's out here. I know you're seeing Canyon trails there. Those are the 2.2 Canyon trails that are the size of, basically roughly the size of 1.9 Canyon trails, and I mean, they're fine, but they were on the pegs and I was never going to run them again. So on the skewers they went. And finding a worst is pretty easy because it's an objective concept. We look at all the quick views and junk views that we went through the year, and we just look at the ones that did the most poorly, that had the lowest score. And it was those. We had a couple others come close. I believe they're already on the skewers as well. They should have been in frame there somewhere. But the truly bad have to be truly, truly bad. The Chanmu and the Hustler will forever live rent-free in my brain because they are objectively terrible on every level. And that can't be said for a lot of things. Much as it can't be said that things are also so amazing that there's no drawbacks to them. I will give another high. I will give a high to offset that low. The high would be that during the year of 2023, what I witnessed was Injora rise from a position of what many would consider to be, another Chinese cloner company that just copies stuff, to a company that actually really started to innovate. And in a year where we saw beyond stagnation, there's a low immediately associated with this high, which is Injora started giving us things like that. They upscaled their Swamp Claw to 1/10, and they're great. They gave us the Pro Comp, and they gave us the molded silicone inserts. They gave us the deep dish, the -10 offset alloy wheels, which no one else was doing. Your options in deep offset wheels were very few and far between. And atop that, they've been giving us, it's $30 to $35 for a nice set of alloy wheels. So you can assemble a wheel tire insert combo that costs, with the Swamp Claws, with these wheels, with the inserts, you're talking just a little bit more than buying a pair of Vanquish wheels. Just wheels. You can have a full set. And not all of us are rolling in the dough. I play with toy cars a lot, and I'm in a very fortunate position. I have the assistance of the beloved followers of the Canyon. I got that big Google money. Expenses will expand to consume all resources, because if you get more money, you just build more rigs, and then you build more rigs to try to make more money to build more rigs. The snake is constantly eating its own tail. So I loved seeing Injora, like the King Trekker was pretty good, and the Clerm, when it released, was pretty good. The Clerm just got blown away by these. And in that S4, and if these in S3, if these had been in the S4 compound, watch out. I don't know why they didn't. They should have done these in S4. Then they would be really watch out, because I know a lot of people don't like the mini pin look. So on the one hand, we've got Injora innovating, and then on the other hand, we have basically shrinkflation across the board. This is the industry-wide low for me, which is Vanquish basically doesn't sell kits anymore. And I can't single out Vanquish. Element sells one kit. Traxxas sells one kit. And it's not even a kit. It's the Scale and Trail, which is basically a Defender without a body on it. Like, what is the point? Because to build that body costs $200. If you don't like the body, just buy the RTR with the body and then sell the body and put whatever you want on it. So they are reducing our options. They are giving us less and calling it an advantage. I ranted at a time for a good while about the Fordyce, and even after having driven the Fordyce and been like, this is quite capable. I still don't like the body, still don't like it, but it wasn't like the rig was bad. What I didn't like about it is it's got sintered gears in the axles, and Vanquish has never done sintered gears in the axles. But they still charged us the price as if it was a Vanquish premium product, but they sucked a bunch of the premium out of it. If any of you can remember back to when the Fordyce released, it was $459.99 RTR for a Fordyce, and I said, that is too much. And within, I don't know, a month, 45 days, the price of the Fordyce everywhere is $399.99, which is the same price as like an Ecto or a TRX4 Sport. There you go. Now you're competing in the RTR market, which I personally hate. Because what the RTR market does to people is, and by people, I mean, I realize on some level I'm preaching to a choir right now. You guys are in this. If you're not in this, there are many people out there who will buy a rig, they will see something and they go, oh, I have to have that because of the body that's on it. Or they like the look of the tires. They have no idea what's underneath. And I feel like the industry at large, not pointing out anyone specifically, but I am a little bit, are capitalizing on that. They are capitalizing on ignorance. And there's nothing wrong with the word ignorant. If someone is called ignorant, it's not an attack. Ignorance simply means does not know. You don't know. And if you don't know, you don't know. Which is why for the entire month of November, I had to fend off assaults from a certain fan base. Hashtag Red Cat Army. Because I said bad things about the Red Cat Ascent. You knew we weren't going to get through this without me talking about the Red Cat Ascent, right? The Red Cat Ascent is not in and of itself a complete low. It can't be, because this grew out of it. There are still 3 Red Cat parts in here. Rattle Cat began as a Red Cat Ascent and ended as basically as non-Red Cat Ascent as you can get. He is still, he's got the body hinge. He's got the forward motor mount brackets, and he's got the lay shaft. That is the sum total of Red Cat parts that are fitted to it. So this was built largely from scratch, trading out parts, and it is very, very, very easy to build something better than what you can buy from Red Cat. And I think Rattle Cat, as it sits now, is evidence of that. Does it have some quote-unquote premium parts on it now? Well, yeah. It's got an NSDRC RS700. It's got Vanquish F10s. It has a bunch of stuff it doesn't need, but it is a perfect example of the hobby as I see it. Build what you want. If you want to mount a body to something, build something and put that body on it. Don't. I still say, if you want to buy a Red Cat Ascent, and if that's what makes you happy, go ahead and do it. Buy one. But what you're going to do is you're going to find out the very hard way. You're going to learn with your pocketbook what the false economy looks like, which is you have to replace literally everything. Everything in the entire vehicle. There's no Red Cat left on here. This thing is great. And also built during the year, Toothless began life as a axial raw builder's kit, which Horizon was blowing out for like $100 and some, like $129, $149, something like that. It has since undergone the things that we normally undergo. We replaced the shocks with surplus shocks. We put SSD diamond axles on there just because I wanted them. He runs on nice wheels and tires and inserts. He's all blacked out. To build this, as capable as he is, cost less than buying a Red Cat Ascent and modifying it. And it's nicer. It's nicer in literally every way, in every single conceivable way. And the real problem here, the real problem I have industry-wide is that they're trying to stop the future, the new guys. If you've ever played a mobile game before or had a subscription to a cable TV service, once they've got you, they don't care about you anymore. They gotta get new blood. And what they want to do in the industry is they want to get new blood and they want to RTRify them so that they can't just say, you know what, I'm going to build a rig from scratch and it's going to do exactly what I want and I'm going to piece it together from parts sourced from the internet and I'm going to do it inexpensively. They want to make a little bit more money by selling you an RTR and profiting off RTR electronics, which are effectively garbage across the board, save for the Vanquish VT1 stock radio, which is not bad. All the other electronics need to be replaced, but it's not bad. And if we're talking forward motor mounts, so Diablo had an accident earlier this week. There will be it came from the Workbench / Quickview installment coming up. He had an accident where he is a UGRC Kleimenstein, and here is what's left of his gearbox, his transfer case, because it physically exploded. It basically pulled these screws out of there and manually disassembled itself during driving. So I expected it to be several weeks before he would be on the course again. And then Amazon was like, did you forget that Prime is a thing? So this motor mount, the FMM and T-case, 30% underdrive, just like what was in him before. I took an aluminum plate, crudely just screwed it through the existing skid. And guess what? If anybody saw the short that was uploaded recently, yeah, that was filmed at normal speed. He runs a 21-tooth pinion and a 45-tooth spur because the gear reduction between this and then TRX4 axles is so insane that on 4S, he just creeps. So, stuff like this, you buy those. A rock crawler is a gearbox and axles. Those parts are not negotiable. Everything else is 100% negotiable. Do you want a cheap brushed system? Do you want a fusion? Do you want an outrunner? Do you want a brushless setup? Do you want wide axles? Do you want narrow axles? None of that is fixed. To build one of these, you need a gearbox and you need axles. You don't need an RTR. You don't need to take what they're giving you and say, hee. There have been so few occasions where I have seen an RTR and been like, oh, I had to buy. Someone asked me in a comment, would I test the Element Zool? An Element Zool is an Ecto with a different body on it. All of the other ones, the Trail Walker? Those are all they're the builder's kit with different bodies on them. That's all they are. Element basically makes 2 rigs. Like, even the Bushido is just a regular Element rig, same axle, same Stealth X gearbox, with shorter links under. But they just they took the front links and they put them on the rear. That's the only difference. It's the same chassis rails. TRX4s are all the same thing, except the TRX6. They put a little bit of different stuff on it, but it's the same thing. This, and we have to understand, we have to give leeway because this is how companies stay in business, right? This is what I call the Toyota model. We're going to build as many things as we can out of one individual platform. In here, inside the Canyon fleet, it's all different. It's all different. We try to make them as different as possible. And that isn't available to us in the RTR realm because they're going to stick us with substandard stuff. And it used to be that an RTR was just, it came with electronics, and then you had the option of buying a kit or a factory team kit, where in lieu of the electronics, they would give you nicer shocks. They would give you an upgraded this. They would give you better gears in the gearbox. They would get like hardened gears or lightened gears or whatever. But in being shrinkflated by the industry, the biggest low of the year, they're taking all those options away. Vanquish sells one kit, the VRD. They discontinued the Phoenix kits. The Pro and the Ultra are gone. What does the future hold for us? Element discontinued the Gatekeeper kit. Traxxas discontinued the Sport kit, which I consider to be the biggest bargain in the industry because it came with a body, it came with good tires, it came with virtually everything you needed. A Sport kit could be built and outfitted however you wanted it fairly inexpensively. And what we need is that inexpensive start, which is why one of the unquestionable highs of the year, perhaps the highest high for me, are the Mias axles. $80 gets you centered pumpkin F10 portals that have excellent. Look at the steer angle. Excellent steer angle, robustly built, inexpensive. Now we have brass options. The Mias axle is very close in competition for up in the highs of the year. It has been a year of more highs than lows, I have to say. And that who could be mad about that? Because lest we forget, during our year 2023, we were also given the Zoku chassis. And the Zoku chassis, I'm a dude that builds chassis. I built this one. There's, I think, 10 rigs in here. It might be more. There's at least 10 rigs I can think of in here that I built. I recommend, if you have a Phoenix, you owe it to yourself to build a Zoku Phoenix. Someone had asked, what about Zoku versus VRD? Well, it's a completely different thing. As I said in a comment, like in that comment where I'd wished I had more opportunity to talk about it on video. If you give me the option to have dig, I'm gonna take it because dig is great. Once you learn to use the variable overdrive, also great. I was genuinely surprised by the performance of the VRD, but I would take the Phoenix any day because the Phoenix is available as a kit. Micro low inserted in here while we're talking about it. Trucks of Fortune 2023. I was one of the many unfortunate souls to get a Falcon edition, which, I mean, this is first world complaining right here. Right? This is like, oh, my scallops were overcooked. Oh no. And your monocle fogs up. But when we entered into the realm of Trucks of Fortune, I had said the only thing I don't want is a Falcon edition. And of course, that's what I've got. And I've gotten many comments of support on Instagram saying that, hey, I got one too. And another guy said, I know 3 guys that ordered them and they all got them. So somewhere there was a warehouse just full of Falcon editions because nobody wanted to pay $120 extra for a Falcon livery that's actually a sticker. We got shrinkflated again, man. They took away options and claimed it was an advantage. So the Red Cat Ascent to me is certainly a low. It's a low because it's tricking people. It's trickery. They read through the copy on Red Cat. They are very careful not to say anything like comp or competition. They do say LCG, which it is not. In stock formation or fitted with DSM carbon. It's not LCG. The links are like this. There's nothing lowering the center of gravity of that vehicle at all. This gentleman, this is low center of gravity. It's got good clearance because it's on portals, but the center of gravity on this is down here. Like, it's below the chassis. This is not comparable to an Ascent. It's not. It is similar in layout that it has 2 axles and 4 wheels and a gearbox in the middle, but at this point the similarities end. Somebody thought about geometry when they designed the chassis, and I threw this together out of available parts. None of the links match, none of the rod ends match. This was a build, a second-hand build, as it were, and if you can, do. But if you can, avoid buying an RTR. Oh! A little something for the regulars. We've got a wheel change here because much as I loved the turbines, they are -10 offset. So I couldn't get this guy down below 10 inches. I couldn't get his width down enough. So the only available choice to me was wheel swap. And you know what? I'm not mad about it. I re-hardwared it, so we got silver on black and black on silver. I think it looks nice. Went down to 6mm pancakes. He's got his knuckle weights in. His weight is up a little. His weight is up a little, but I think he looks every bit as good. And this was a non-purchase. This was we walk around and we say, who could swap a tire and still be G2G? And we found the guy. And I think this is a situation of there are no losers, because Blue Sky High is the former owner of those wheels, and yeah, what? Like, it's better, right? It's better. It's better. Bolted his wheel weights on. He is now a wide boy. He's a wide boy. Where's that? He's just under, he's about 10 3/4 wide. So in that swaparoo, the swaparoo from this gent to this gent, this guy, we can do better, right? This guy got 1/2 inch narrower, and this guy got 3/4 inch wider. So he's going to have to use his canyon given abilities to get him through gates. As, like, I think I'm going to have to lengthen. I think we're going to have to lengthen his rear end back a tiny bit more. I think his front is good. We're going to take them out and we're going to wheel them around, and I'm going to see if I have any other thoughts in my head, because once I start talking, the stuff upstairs gets all rearranged, and then I can't remember where I'm going. I can't remember where I've been. Yeah. I put an excessive amount of work into this chassis. I put all these link mounts up here and then found out that the low mount was the best. Look how tight his front links are relative to his rear links. Because tuning for four-wheel steer is well and truly a completely different thing. Once we converted this guy to fit a Stealth XF, and what I would like to point out is he has no torque twist or axle rise at all. None. I don't know how I ended up with that. We have a very centralized weight block there. He's on the D's bands. This is another one that was built purely out of, like, we think we know a little bit. We don't know how much we know, but we think we know a little bit. And he's still not done. I want to say Blue Sky High it came from the Workbench Volume 2. That's a drone motor. He's a good boy. And I mean, the weed eating, right? It's always something. It's always something. We're going to go out. We're going to wheel it about a little bit. We're going to try to steer clear of Mavericks for the day. Mavericks! That is certainly a high of 2023 for me. I was going through and deleting old videos out of my Final Cut library. And I saw a video that was from about this time, 2022. And there were no obstacles out on the flat ground. So on January 1st of 2023, nothing out there existed. Not Anomaly, not Dead Limit out behind it, the Slot Machine, the Montanas, which are still being worked on. Of course, Mavericks, which was built on Thanksgiving. None of it. When I stop and think about the amount of material, and of course the lights. Lights have been only up for a couple weeks. 2023 was a big canyon year. We got definitely more visitors to the canyon in 2023 than we did in 2022. And I am forever thankful for that. I had always kind of hoped for a little bit of a field of dreams aspect here. If you build it, they will come. And apparently, this thing is really effortless. Apparently, on some level, that is true, because if you build it, they will come. I get the delightfully infuriating comments that come fairly routinely. First from the YouTube end, how have I not discovered this channel before? I don't know. And others that are like, do you ever let people come over and drive? Yes. I will routinely and regularly invite strangers over here. And some might say, are you not worried? And I say, well, you know, it's a crazy world and it's a crazy time. So of course, on some level, you always have that concern. But I operate from a position of blissful ignorance, which is nothing has happened yet, right? Like, I guess there has to be a disaster first. Nothing has happened yet. And before I was the Crawler Canyon guy, I was the drisotope.com guy. That was my past. Parts fabrication. Starting many moons again, I ran the full run. I outlasted Scion as an offshoot of Toyota, and I've shipped every package that I've ever shipped from this house, from this address, the yard I'm standing in. And I was shipping to thousands. Like the Scion TC radiator plate, I sold over 10,000 of them. So I figure At least 50,000 people have my address. So this is why I don't worry about it maybe as much as I should. So yeah, the canyon is open to the loyal devotees and followers of the canyon. What I'm waiting on is, yeah, we gotta lengthen the rear out a little. What I'm waiting on is return visitors, because that is something that we don't experience a lot here. I've had a number of people come by once, and then I never see that person again. Perhaps I offend, I don't know. But the growth of the canyon, much as I am involved in it, I think, like I build the rigs, I do the things, I make the videos. I can't seem to mentally get comfortable with claiming responsibility or ownership. This is a group project here. This is a group project. It's you, it's me, it's us, it's the royal we, it's the royal us. It's all of us together. We're trying to make the canyon great. This thing is like cheating. Oh, someone might say, oh, I don't recall the megalithic being on your list of highs and lows. The megalithic is a perfectly fine tire. And I understand what it is. It is a 476. Am I correct in that remembrance? This is a class 3 tire. So I'm never one to throw great praise on something that was manufactured to fit a rule set. You know, like, that seems to, like, if you want to suck all the fun out of something, make a bunch of rules. I have competing thoughts right now, which is, I got to get this one out of the way first. I forget. The axle on the MST CFXW, it is a portal in that, yes, it lowers the axle down so you have more ground clearance. But they use a planetary portal. There's 4 gears in the gearbox, so you don't get any gear reduction. It's effectively the same as having a straight axle. There's no portal reduction, which is weird. So when I pull the trigger on him, I expect, like, that's a 1400 kV motor. About the competition thing. People have said, have you ever considered having a comp here? Absolutely, yeah. If you want to come and hold a comp here, the venue is available. That's a mini goal over which I have no control that I would love to see here in 2024. That would be a high for me in 2024, because I would love to host it, I would love to witness it, but I don't want to run it, because I have my own idea of crawler rules here for the canyon. Anyone who's seen anything that is a quote-unquote competition here in the canyon knows what that means, which is we have the very simplified canyon scoring system, which is 10 points for a rollover, 7 points for a gate strike, 2 points for a reverse, and we have no scale points, no gate points, none of that. So if you're running at a course like the 9 or another little mini high for the year, for Christmas, I got a Cobalt hammer drill. Does Cobalt make the best equipment? No. They are Lowe's version of Ryobi. They make very heavy on the use of the word consumer grade tools. But what they also do, much like an Endura wheel, right, will allow you to outfit more vehicles with wheels, they're perfectly fine. Is the machining and the tolerances quite as tight as Vanquish? No. Are the Vanquish wheels undeniably gorgeous? Yes. Would I love to have Milwaukee or something out here? Sure. But what Cobalt does is they enable me to have a rack of tools. There's a pegboard full of tools in my garden shed, and those tools are specifically for the course. I've got a cordless Sawzall, I've got a cordless angle grinder, I've got drills and an impact. I can't do that with expensive tools, just like I can't build the Canyon fleet and outfit all of the rigs in the fleet with Vanquish wheels and Tekin electronics. And so my thirst, my quest for the economical isn't brought out about because I am toit. It's not, I thought that was going. It's not even brought about specifically because, I mean, I guess one could make the argument that I'm a quantity over quality guy. Somebody could make that statement, and I'd have to go, there's a ring of truth to it. But I think that we can get a lot of quality for not a lot of money. These are economical wheels. These are economic power systems. There's a Fusion in one, and a Fusion SE in one, and a $24 drone motor in the other. So you don't need to buy premier stuff. You also don't need to limit yourself to what the manufacturers try to force you into buy the RTR, get out on the rocks, because I come from a different time, everybody, when the RTR was not even a thought. Everything was a kit. Do I miss those days? No. We had NICADs and NIMPACs and 6-minute run times, and it was nothing, and it was all brushed. And you had to learn to work on brushed motors. And so help me, if I never have to true a comm or seat in brushes, I take a brushed motor out of the box and I put it in the rig and I run it. No break-in, no breaking them in water, no breaking them in with comm drops or fluid, none of that. Like those days are gone. Thank God. It's Outrunners, Fusions, and big block 540s around here. So that's what we do. I love seeing new tires come out. I love seeing those little fleeting, few and far between innovations in the segment, right? Four-wheel steer is a problem. I love them giving us new things. There's a couple new bodies out that I want to try. Vanquish makes their own version of the Tucked now. Let's see what that looks like. This thing is cheating. And here's the thing. If you go in with the mindset of building something, you can build this. There's nothing exotic in or on this vehicle. If you had to buy the 2023 Brazen Scale RC high-low chassis rails in carbon fiber, it's like $90, which is would be the single most expensive component on the entire vehicle. Then it's got a Fusion SE in it, which is $80, and it's got Mias axles on it, which are $80, and the wheels and tires together are about $80, and it all pieces together to make something, yes, more expensive than most RTRs, unless you're talking about like a TRX4 Bronco or something. It's like $550. The notion of a $550 RTR is insane, absolutely insane to me. I can't get my head around it. Do I wish that the gateway to entry to the hobby was lower? Not just absolutely, but you would have to think of an expressive exclamation beyond absolutely, because the gateway to entry, the bar is too high. I can think of one exception, maybe. The Enduro, the Element Enduro Sendero SE has its problems, but it is $299.99. And it works at $299.99. There's nothing inherently faulty about the geometry of it. Yeah, it's got plastic links and it's got bushings. And if anything, I think that is more market targeted than anything else. Because people have been RTR-ified. Nobody is messing with their wheelbases. People are driving them in a crick and not realizing they've never popped open a 5x10x4 bearing to see how small the bolts are inside that. They are microscopic. They are like the size of a grain of sand. And if you run them in water, you will drastically shorten their lifespan. And then they will lock up at some point and turn themselves into a bushing, but then it's just steel on steel. And that's steel on steel crime, so we try to avoid that. So I hate being in a position where I would have to say, if you're going to buy an RTR, then you're better off with this or this. I would hate to say, because it pains me to do so, the Fordyce at $399 is a pretty good deal. VS410 is a good chassis. VFD is a good gearbox. These toy cars are too expensive, and they're getting more expensive, and they're giving us less. That's the biggest low of 2023. I think we can do this. The positionability of this rig is insane. Absolutely insane. The positionability is truly something else. And as I said, there is nothing exotic. Look at that descent. What? Blue Sky High needs work. And it came from the workbench too. And the problem with him is kind of his quirkiness. I can't even say 100% that he's a CFXW anymore. His gearbox was a weird gearbox T-case operation. It has been replaced with an Element Stealth XF with rails built to match. And what would really take this guy to the next level is the same axles that are on the guy right below him. If he was on Mias axles, we would have a bit more gear reduction. I think he would be chef's kiss. But then we're doing samesies. So he's a CFXW axle man, and he's going to stay that way. Still descends real good. 2023, in retrospect, was definitely a year of highs. Channel-wise, I got more views in 2023 than my total previous channel views. My channel was started, I signed up for YouTube in 2006. So if you look on the About page for Crawler Canyon, I started in 2006, had uploaded about, 40 or 50 videos prior to the end of August 2021. Crawler Canyon has been going for just a little bit over 2 years. And I've done 800 plus videos since then, because as the philosophers at Flex Pavilion said, I can't stop. I cannot. I enjoy it. I enjoy building the rigs, wheeling the rigs, building the course, tuning the course, talking to you lovely people, meeting you lovely people. Everything about it. One of the biggest highs of 2023. And I mean this sincerely, and I am sarcastic by nature, self-deprecating by nature. So when I say something, and if I say that I mean it, I mean it. One of the highlights, perhaps the highest high of 2023, has been the Canyon Arrows, the Canyonites, the people of the canyon. Sometimes it requires the internet to locate like-minded folk, I guess. And I feel some small sense of community, and that's wonderful. It truly is. I don't want to sound like the sap is coming out too thick here, but I've mentioned it before, famously, perhaps too much. I guess once you're a cyclist, you're always a cyclist. I could get back on a bike today. You know, you don't forget how to ride a bike. I could click 30 miles out today, no problem. I don't think it would hold the same allure that it held to me. Like, I was questing for goals, and I met those goals. I wanted to ride 50,000 total miles, and I did it. And I wanted to ride 1,000 miles in a month, and I did 1,100 in a month. And I wanted to do all these things. I've ridden from where I live to SeaWorld. It was 156 miles. I had a lot of goals. I wanted to ride to Onyx Summit, the highest paved highway point in California, 8,600 feet or whatever it is. I've done that 4 times. So I got to a point where I ran out of, I'm goal driven, or target or goal, however you like to look at it, and I'm constantly driven by those numbers. It is either a positive or a flaw of my personality, of my brain chemistry, whatever it is. And once I started to meet those goals and hit those targets, I was like, well, now what? Because I never really found that community in amongst cyclists. Cyclists are, and I know that there's a couple of you there's a gentleman from Australia that is a cyclist, and I'm sure he can attest to this as well. There's a very particular personality type that is prevalent in cycling, and you are either in with that group or you are on the outside of that group. And I was outside of that group because I was a guy that liked to ride for fun, but sometimes I like to ride fast. Sometimes I like to ride a long distance. Sometimes I just like to have a scenic ride down to the beach. I rode from where I'm sitting right now to the pier at Huntington Beach too many times to count. 70 miles, almost exclusively downhill. It was fantastic. And would you like to know how many times I got to do that ride with another person? 3 times, maybe? So if you can virtually find like-minded individuals and build yourself a little community, you have what we have here. You have the canyon. What a wonderful place to be. My biggest hope for 2024, it's not channel growth, it's not making more, it's not scraping more pennies off the backs of Google. It's none of that. It's that I would love more people to come and sample the wonders of the canyon, because it, well and truly, I say it half tongue-in-cheek at best, it makes me feel less mad. And I mean mad in the old-timey sense, like mad as a hatter, because if this camera wasn't on and I wasn't filming toy cars for all of you lovely people, I would still be doing this, because that you have to recall, this is the same person who had not ridden a bicycle for any distance longer from here to the elementary school, which is, you can hear the kids screaming in videos sometimes. That's how close the elementary school is. Had not ridden a bicycle further than that, bought a bicycle, and rode 50,000 miles in 5 years. So there's an obsessive component, and I think perhaps superior to real-world motorsport, or, I don't know, riding the white horse, I found something that is maybe on some level less self-destructive, right? I got myself into a position on the bike of what's called overtraining, where you ride so much that your body basically almost thinks it's dying, so it goes into like a protective state. And I had overtrained so bad at one point that I couldn't raise my heart rate above 80 beats per minute. And you'd say, well, how does that work? And I would get on the bike and pedal as hard as I could, and my heart rate would get up into like the mid-70s. And here's what the problem is. Your blood is filled with these things called red blood cells that have oxygen in them. And when you're using your legs exclusively, the red blood cells basically make the blood thicker and heavier, so it pools in your legs. Then you can't pump it up to the rest of your body. Look up, for those of you who know what orthostatic hypotension is, it's fantastic. It's every time you get up off the sofa, you almost black out. That was me every single day, because the blood was pooling in my legs. I couldn't raise my heart rate, and I would ride every day, every day, every day. So if anything, the canyon and you folk have been therapeutic to me, and I've been abusing you in that I am using you as my own. You are my free therapy. Making a video, building a rig, gluing rocks together has been fantastic. 2023 has been a very good year for me, and as Joe Walsh once said, life's been good to me so far. I can't complain, but sometimes I still do. And that is me in a nutshell. I truly and sincerely thank you all so very much for being here, whether in person or in spirit, for joining me here in the canyon before I get too misty, and it's too early on a Friday morning. Thank you, sincerely. I hope you all don't just... what was the video game? This is going back to like the 80s. It was like Robotron or something like that. Tempest. No, God. I'll think of it later and I'll yell it out loud. Like the time I forgot to buy butter at the Costco, and I pulled out onto the street exiting the Costco and yelled as loudly, "Butter!" And my wife jumped because I remembered the butter. I'll remember the song. But in between now and when we meet again, please one and all do your very best. And in spirit or in person, hearkening back to that video game in the 1980s. Stay a while. Stay forever.